Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Prescribing Lifestyle Podcast. Today, I've got a special guest, Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan Rubin is also known as Dr. Dan, is an 85-year-old passionate PhD graduate from Harvard, and he used to be a senior scientist working for NIH as an immunologist. He worked as a cancer research and AIDS research, and he is now an inspiring author, a speaker, transformational speaker, and he is here to share with you his Living with Purpose message. His brand new book is called Living with Purpose: How to Empower Senior Citizens to Live with Purpose. And thank you for coming, Dr. Dan.
Well, thank you, Avi. It's a pleasure and an honor. I appreciate the opportunity to come to your audience and to your program, and hopefully uh, inspire some people and enlighten them and with my story. And I don't give advice. I am a coach, but I don't give advice. I only speak from my own experience and what is true for me, what I know, and
Okay,
how it all came to be where I am now as this speaker and coach, having
amazing.
been a lot of other things along the way.
Great. I'll get you to introduce yourself. How did you become in this journey? You were a scientist, you were immunologist, and then you've now
Well,
retired and become a coach.
it's partly a mystery, actually. The PhD part was part of my formal education. Early on in my training, while I was in medical school, I had a summer fellowship with a very well-known immunologist, and I just got turned on by immunology, and so I switched to from medical school to graduate school at NYU, and I was in a department of some of the more senior major immunologists in the field. And that's what got me. And I did sort of a basic research for my PhD. Again, I wanted to go where the best people were. And NIH was one of the places where the best people were. And so I, I went to NIH, the Cancer Institute, as a postdoctoral fellow, and that led me to actually going against the advice of my colleagues. I got drawn into management. The National Cancer Act was passed, and they needed people to manage.
Okay.
And I said, okay, let me see. And it turns out I had sort of an aptitude to do that. And I was given ultimately major responsibility in cancer treatment. And at one time, I was even the acting director for radiation therapy. And I got to travel around the world managing cancer research at the clinical and um, but people said to me, you have too much energy. The government is not a place for you. What are you doing here? And the truth is, I actually woke up from a dream that said it's time to leave, and I did. I
Okay.
just
And how
left.
how old were you when you left your career?
Um, Not very. About 40,
Oh, wow. You stopped
41, 42.
being
Yeah, I
okay.
was at NIH for about 14 or 15 years.
Okay.
And I just left. And
Mm,
and and the next thing I knew, I'm a native Floridian,
in
and I
Florida.
came back to Florida. Um, when it comes to purpose, when I speak to, I go around speaking to senior communities
Yes.
to empower them to
Yep.
live life fully with joy and stuff. And one of the things, when it comes to purpose, one of the things these are just my beliefs. I think everybody has a purpose.
Yes.
There's a calling for everybody, but
Yes.
not everybody's listening.
No, no.
You have to be aware and be listening. In my case, I was listening and then I forgot. I was listening again. I got to be the director of an AIDS agency in my hometown.
Okay.
And that led to the third here listening when I moved back to Central Florida to be near my children and grandchildren. That was a major commitment.
Hmm.
So I started teaching at a local community college, and one day I heard about what they call distant learning,
Okay.
online learning.
Yep.
And this light went off in my head. I said, I have to do that. And for the next 20 years, I loved designing the creative side, designing as well as facilitating learning. So I did that for 20 years. I thought, this is my passion. That's till the end of time, that's all I'm going to do. But no, I got another calling.
Okay.
And yes, and that calling was, this is your most important reason for being here. Okay, this is your mission. Okay. So again, I just quit teaching without the next thing because I was so convinced. I'm very spiritual also.
Yep.
And I was listening and believing what was coming to me. I trusted it. And here I am now, a year and a half, almost 2 years later. Along the way, I think this is important too. The preface to my book is about gratitude and purpose because
Yes.
they go hand in hand.
Yes. Yes.
And gratitude actually starting about 2 years ago has become an integral part of my life.
Mm,
It's really the reason why I'm here. Okay.
amazing.
It's a very special sense that I have in
How do
terms of
you
being grateful.
how
Yes.
do you practice
So I get on this
gratitude? Yep.
yeah. So I get on this road to becoming, how am I going to empower people? Well, I speak. I've got
Mm-hmm.
plenty of stories.
Okay.
And I'm a teacher, so I could coach people. And that's for the last the gratitude is what sustained me all
Mm-hmm.
this time.
Mm.
Being grateful for this opportunity, just as I am grateful to, I have what I call gratitude moments, and being here with you is another gratitude moment.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Thank you. I'm very grateful for you to come on as well. It's my gratitude
Well,
moment as
okay.
well,
Yeah.
all
So,
across
so,
the world.
so that's what I've been doing for like the last year and a half is
Okay.
developing my skills more formally as a
Yep.
speaker.
Okay.
And I go around to senior centers now,
Okay.
speaking to them.
Mm.
And try, for those who need help or they're struggling with, quote, old age, the golden years, because there's this myth about once you reach a certain age, it's all over, that you can't learn
Yes.
anymore, you can't
Yes.
enjoy life. And I'm here to say that's not true. In fact, my opening line when I speak is, guess what? The best is yet to come.
Mm.
And
Yes.
the takeaway, what I tell them is the takeaway from this talk is your senior years are a remarkable time to have the best years of your life. And I'm here to say that that's true. And
Yep.
if you need help, I will help you.
Amazing. Amazing. A
And
lot of my, yep.
along the way came this book.
Great.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm writing more books now, actually.
Okay.
Children's books.
Amazing. Amazing. Great. So a lot of my patients feel like they're old and they're stuck and they've got pains everywhere and they keep thinking they can't get better. They're just getting old. It's all downhill from there. What do you say? What do you think to them? What's your advice to them?
Well, I try to be an example for one thing. And look, I've been blessed with this energy
Hmm.
and vitality, and I'm not unique in that,
Hmm.
but I have this opportunity to tell you that, and my book covers, the main dimensions of life,
Hmm.
mental, physical, emotional, your health, exercise, socialization,
Hmm.
maintaining relationship with your grandchildren, things
Yes.
like that. So I go over the things, if they're missing something, many of
Yep.
them, so when they transition from living at home
Hmm.
to a senior facility, there's
Yeah.
a loss involved, and
Yes.
not everybody adjusts really well to that new place.
Yes.
And in fact, one of the things I like to say is no one's written a book on what to expect when you get old.
No.
So
Mm.
all of a sudden, you wake up one day and you're there, and you find out, as I did, you know, I find out what it is. And when I use a walker, when I live in a senior community,
Okay.
and years ago I see people walking around bent over
Yep.
walkers, and I said, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Well, when I go to speak, I arrive with a walker.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just it's one of those things that is just true in my life now.
Okay.
Um, but my health is important.
Yep.
I talk to them about all the different things that can make a difference so that you can live with more joy and
Mm.
fulfillment. And I point to specific kinds of activities. I'm not an expert on nutrition or things like that, but they're
Mm-hmm.
living in facilities where they supposedly are getting good food.
Yep.
Uh, but some people don't recover from getting old. They buy this whole notion that it's over, and they're just
Yes.
waiting around, and
Yes.
and, or they're shy,
That's
and
right.
so they're not socializing,
Yeah.
and they're not taking advantage of all the marvelous kind of services that you offer
Mm-hmm.
on the health medical side.
Yes, that's right,
Well,
too.
you have to have all of that, you know.
Yes.
You got to
Yes.
be it's there has to be a commitment to personal growth. And
Yes.
that for me, actually, number one is my health.
What are your
Because
tips
I'm
for maintaining good health, Dr. Dan?
being active, showing up.
Hmm. Okay.
People come to hear me speak,
Hmm.
and the first thing I say to them is, congratulations, you
Mm.
showed up. Think about the people who aren't here.
Yes.
Are they hiding out in their rooms, watching TV, taking a nap, watching
Yep.
TV,
Yep.
and then sooner or later their body says, I'm sorry, you're not taking care of me, you know?
So keep
And
showing up is your
now
tip.
they've got chronic problems. And
Yes.
that's where, you come in with your clinic, all the things that you do.
Yeah, yeah. Do you feel you're old, Dr. Dan? Do you feel like you feel old?
No.
No, great. Okay,
No,
you're 86.
it's a, well, it's this is an example of how grateful I am
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't expect any. This is all like authoring a book. I wasn't planning to write a
Mm,
book,
mm,
and so where I am, there are a number of like cardinal things that I've learned,
mm-hmm,
and for me, in order for me to fulfill my purpose.
mm-hmm.
I have to be truly who I am,
Yep,
not what somebody. Most of us grow up getting conditioned by parents and teachers, education, and we end up, some people, their whole lives being what somebody else wants them to be.
yep, yep.
And they don't even realize it. I've learned the hard way that it's for me to fulfill my mission, I have to be who I really am. And
Mm,
that's the big message that I have is be who you are, whatever that is. And doesn't
amazing.
really, this may sound selfish, but in a sense, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Because
Yes.
when you're your authentic self, people get it. People want to be around. Okay.
Yeah, amazing. So you started writing the book when you're in your 80s.
Yes, it just got published a year ago.
Okay, great. Tell us
It,
some wisdoms from the book.
well, I've shared some of them already.
Yep.
Uh, y- well, here's one. Here's a term that I had never even heard of
Mm,
before. Uh, Relationships are very important
yep.
at any time.
Hmm.
But when you get old, some people get separated, dislocated from their family.
Mm,
They'll lose a loved one, a husband or a wife, or they get moved to a senior facility and they don't see their children and grandchildren that often, as an
hmm.
example.
Yep.
One of the things that one of the things that I say to these people, I ask a question. How many of you grandparents have taken the time to tell your story to your grandchildren? And many of them say, "Oh, I don't think they want to know." And
Mm,
that is so not true. I'm writing children's books now. It prompted me to write a children's book. And the first one I wrote is called it's about purpose. The book
mhm.
is the title of the book is The Adventures of Sammy Squirrel,
Okay.
Finding Purpose in the Forest.
Wow.
And the preface to that book is about a little boy getting off the school bus
Hmm.
and running up to his grandpa who's sitting on the porch.
Hmm.
And is and he's worried because he's been given the assignment of standing up in class. He's 6 years old. He's got to stand up in his class the next day and tell his friends what purpose means, and he doesn't even know how to spell it.
Hmm.
So Grandpa says, "Sit down, let me tell you this story." And he tells him the story of Sammy the squirrel,
Hmm.
which which for those parents who are reluctant or who don't think their grandchildren want to know, this is kind of like an introduction. And the key phrase in my book is called intergenerational relationships.
Mm.
That's that's a grandparent to their children and grandchildren. It's a vital piece of the puzzle
Yeah.
that contributes to health just as much as exercise,
Yeah.
socializing with people where you live.
Hmm.
A lot of people just give up, and
Yeah.
it's not necessary. So, so just show up is one of the big messages.
Yeah.
And here's all these ways to take care of yourself
Yes.
so that you have this balance that may be, because I believe it's true. What I say is that this is an opportunity to have the best years of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yes.
So how
And of
many
course, that takes your
yeah.
health. Yeah.
So how many grandchildren have you got, Dr. Dan?
I have four gorgeous, gorgeous daughters, and one of them is the star. She's an adventurous. She just moved to Australia.
Oh,
She's
okay.
living she's living in Sydney. She's a brilliant everything. But she's gonna wherever she goes, she's gonna make a difference, this one. But I have four of them.
So four
Uh
daughters and how many grandchildren?
no, I have a son and a daughter.
Okay.
And they each have two daughters. So I have four granddaughters.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just girls.
Just girls, yes.
Have you got any stories on how you inspired your granddaughters?
Well, well, I'm almost ashamed to say this because here I am preaching to the choir about, well, I didn't have the reason why this is so important to me is my grandparents were all spread out. I only saw them maybe a half a dozen times in my whole life,
Hmm.
and they were of that older generation that didn't sit down and tell their stories.
Mm,
So I didn't either. Not when they were really young, I didn't do it either.
mm.
But I do it now.
Okay.
I share and in this book, this this book is for them. I mean,
Mm,
it's for anybody else, but it's also a legacy, okay? And what's coming to me now that I'm writing,
hmm.
I'm probably going to write that story of my life.
Mm.
I wasn't planning to, just like you. The
Yeah, I
book,
wasn't planning to
the,
write a book,
the book,
and
the book just happened, but you're going to write another one.
I don't know yet. I haven't got any plans on writing another book yet.
Well, I think you and I share a number of things in common, and we're open to new ideas about how to help people.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
That's really what you're committed to. So when
yes.
you're open to possibilities, a book shows
Yeah,
up. A
that's
book
right.
shows up. Yeah,
I'm very open to new adventures, meeting new people
yeah.
like you, and getting wisdom from an 86-year-old author. And
Well,
yeah, very open to learning from all sorts of walks of life.
yes, it's what I know that makes a difference to me. And my hope is that some of the people listening even in your audience, will hear something that will resonate,
Mm,
and they'll go, "Oh." I mean, I'm frankly, if there's some grandparents out there who saying, "No, I haven't talked to my grandchildren yet,"
hmm.
but he seems to make a big point, a big deal about this. Why don't next Thanksgiving or the next time we have a family gathering, let me see. That would be
Yeah.
that would be such a breakthrough for the family dynamics. That would,
Yes.
this intergenerational relationships that are so important, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can't really say if any of them is more important than any other ones. I mean, obviously your health, without your health,
Hmm.
you know, then you're already compromised.
Yeah.
But I see people who have disabilities, who've had strokes,
Mm,
who've got some of the common medical conditions that
hmm.
go with old age. It's
Yeah.
inevitable, but they have not given up.
Fantastic. So,
And I was coaching a 92-year-old woman who hasn't given up.
wow. Tell us about
And
more
yeah,
of that
yeah.
story.
Well, when I go to speak to any audience,
Hmm.
I share stories from my life, and I also make certain key points, like showing up,
Hmm.
uh, talking to your grandchildren,
Hmm.
being social,
Hmm.
take advantage if you're living in a senior facility, take advantage of the amenities because nowadays over here they are luxury all in one. They go from independent living to assisted living to memory care,
Yep.
and they don't have to leave.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
they've thought of everything, and they seem to be the good ones anyway. It's almost as if they'd read my book because they they provide all of those amenities
Yeah.
that my book talks about, from the healthcare to the social activities to books to read and even gardens to go out and gardening,
Yeah.
get your hands dirty in the soil.
Yeah.
Uh, and but where I come into all of that is more from the motivational standpoint.
Yes. Yes.
That stuff is already there when they move in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there's nobody going around beating them up, say, "Hey, get to the bingo game, go read a book, or get to the garden."
Yeah.
And yeah, my hope is that listening to me, they will go, "It's not over yet.
Mm.
Maybe I will write a book
Hmm.
or do something creative." Um, it's an opportunity, for example, to kick up new hobbies or
Yeah.
to activate hobbies that let go.
Yeah.
Drawing, painting, writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's lots of because you've got free time.
That's right. Yeah. More free time than I
Yeah,
have because I have to work full
yes,
time.
exactly.
Yeah. You just reminded me. Yesterday, I had a patient who was living at home, and then a few months ago, she just moved into a supported living, and she had now have a community. She's bought the house in this supportive community, and she was surprised that she's actually enjoying this community much more than she thought she would. So she's going out to activities and bingo and catching up and dancing and dinners and making new friends that she can touch base with. And she is telling me she's much better and thriving in this community.
Well, see, she's committed to her own personal growth for whatever
Yes.
reason, and she will be an example to others there.
Yeah,
Hopefully, yes.
that's right.
Well, the other thing I do when I speak, because
Hmm.
I am a coach also, I
Yep.
offer my services,
Hmm.
and when I give out my card, it's worth 30 to 60 minutes of free coaching to
Okay.
see if there's a fit.
Yep.
Because some of the other kind of questions I ask are, how long you have been here, and is there anything missing? You're at one of these facilities that they've thought of everything,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe you're not getting everything.
Mm,
What's missing in your life that would make a difference?
mm. Well,
Or um, you know you have some kind of purpose, but you're not quite sure what it is.
mm-hmm.
You have some kind of awareness, but you're missing some key ingredient.
Yeah. What do
Okay.
people
And,
answer that they're missing? What do people say when you do these calls?
well, a lot of them are kind of surprised because as a coach, when I talk to them about what coaching is, I'm not a consultant.
Mm-hmm.
Consultants give advice.
Yes.
I don't do that. What I say to them is if you're stumbling or struggling and you're trying to do it all by yourself and it's not working, the answers are within you. And my job as your coach is to help you find them, to
Yeah.
find those keys and that this woman you're talking about, she's going to be example to people.
Mm,
People react to her in one of two ways. They'll gravitate to her
mm-hmm.
to find out what she's doing right,
Mm-hmm.
or they'll go off to the side and they will huddle and complain and criticize because she represents, well, this is human nature. The
Yes.
people who don't, the people, unfortunately, the people who don't want to know,
Mm-hmm.
they would rather, that's another thing I say to them was, I'll bet you all know somebody that every time you meet them, they start complaining about something. They
Yes.
tell you what the latest visit to their doctor's office is like, or
Yeah.
what's their latest ailment. And I said, I don't know what this is, but some people can only start a conversation by telling you how bad things are. I don't
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
it is, but
Mm,
they're full of complaints,
mm.
and it's a shame.
It
Okay,
is.
yes, because this woman you're talking about, she's going to be a ray of sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and you're there supporting her as her physician,
Yeah.
and you understand all of this, and it makes everything even more rewarding, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Another story is my mum is 83 and she is eating well. She's going out to communities a lot and enjoying catching up with her friends. And she goes out to some elderly gatherings and going to the gym 2 or 3 times a week and going for walks every day. She now says she's not comfortable when she doesn't go out for a walk. Whereas I think 10 years ago, she never went out for a walk. But she says she's better health in at the age of 83 than she was 10 years ago. And I remember when I was a little girl, she says 60 was old, and now she's doing fantastic at the age of 80, 83.
Well, people ask me how did this all come about,
Mm.
and I really don't have a simple answer to
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
The answer is it happened. I woke up one morning and it sounds like your mom's the same.
yeah,
Something happened. Something happened to her that's more alive than she was 20 years ago.
yes.
Something she's motivated. She's a marvelous example of I'm gonna, if it's okay, when I give my next talk, I'm gonna say I was just talking to this fabulous physician in Australia who told me about her mother, who's a good example. I wish she were here with me to talk to you
Yeah.
because she is living the kind of life that's there for all of you. There's there really aren't any excuses because I've seen people with very little in the way of disabilities
Hmm.
not doing anything,
Yeah.
and others. I mean, I have a client now. He's a young man. He's in his 40s or so, but
Okay.
he's had a stroke and he's had bipolar disease. He's had lots of chronic illness. He's
Mm.
medicated to here.
Okay.
Okay. And he's been uh, um, separated from his son for 10 years. They don't speak. And he came to me, I said, what do you want? How can I help you? He said, I want to be my son's father, and he won't let me. So I've been working with him, doing a lot. I give people tools,
Hmm.
to use. And he's now having kind of a relationship with his son all
Oh,
of a sudden.
great.
Well, but if you were to just look at his medical records,
Hmm.
he'd go, "Oh my goodness." I mean, he's got so many medications that are, you know, having adverse reactions
Mm,
and so on
hmm.
because he's being treated for a lot of different things
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Mm,
But he's got this spirit, this will, and that's, it's up here and it's down here. He's got it in his heart because that's where I speak from, actually, my
amazing.
heart.
Great.
Yes,
So he got the tools from you and he reconnected with his son. Is that
yes.
what? Yeah, amazing. Great.
Well, you never know.
That's
You can
right.
only you can only do the best you can with what you've got, and I'm just so grateful that I've been given this opportunity. I mean, if you'd have asked me 10 years ago, what are you going to be doing 10 years from now? I'd say, oh, I'll be teaching,
Hmm.
you know. Uh, when you're open to possibilities,
Hmm.
this is, I don't know, I'm still searching for a way to convince people that we all have a purpose. If more people got that idea and said, what do I do about that? If I've got one and I'm here, there's one of my favorite authors many years ago when I first started this personal development is
Mm,
Richard Bach, and he wrote this book, uh, Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah or something. It was one of those books that, for me, you open up every page, every time you open a page, it had a
mm.
message for
Okay.
you.
Yep.
Okay. And I'll never forget one of the sayings in there is, if you're still wondering why you're here, it's because you haven't fulfilled your purpose.
Mm. Okay.
And one of the first questions ask when I walk in to give a talk,
Yep.
I say, first of all, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to ask you questions
Hmm.
that if you don't want to answer, that's okay, but at least think about it. And
Hmm.
the very first question I usually ask is, why are you here?
Mm.
And at first they're going, well, you were advertised, you're on the calendar, and there's a pre.
Hmm.
And I said, no, I mean, why are you here? Not in this room listening. Why are you here?
In the
And then
world.
I say, have you heard the call? Because there's a call out there for you. It may not be a text message or a phone call. It may be um, an accidental running into a piece of information that you hadn't seen. The weird example I gave in a talk the other day was you're in New York City and you're walking down the steps of the subway and you trip and you run into this guy who's coming
Mm.
out
Mm.
and he's carrying some books and magazines, and one of these magazines falls onto the steps,
Yep.
and there's this big headline that
Mm.
says "Do it now" or some
Mm.
message.
Mm.
And if you're aware and you're looking, you have to have the awareness.
Yes.
If you're not aware, you're not going to see or hear it. But if you're aware, and I was 4 times,
Yep. Yep.
if you're aware, you will notice. You have
Yeah.
responded to something somewhere. It could be from within you. Some little voice said, "Amy, uh, do this," and without question, you did it. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep. A few times actually. Yeah.
in fact, you're reminding me some things I haven't spoken about. If it's okay,
Yeah, of course.
one of the keys when I look back on all of this, my life,
Yeah.
first of all, I've taken total responsibility for my life. I'm not blaming anybody,
Yeah.
parents, teachers. It's all on me. And
Yeah.
when I look back on my life, it's all been a learning experience.
Yes.
All of it, all of it. And it's my job to find out what that learning was. Because sometimes when you're in the midst of it, you don't get it.
Yes.
But when you reach my age and you can still look back with all your faculties, go, oh, Now I understand what that was about. I
Mm,
didn't know then.
mm,
Okay. So I've had some extraordinary experiences that really moved me.
mhm.
Um, and I can talk about them in a lot of different ways. I'm not going to go there, but it's in some respects a very spiritual kind of thing. Um, but it's really extraordinary. And I'm a biomedical scientist,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think that way. Okay, when
Scientifically,
I
yeah.
had, it's like, well, the example is when I first heard about distance learning.
Mm,
I didn't stop and say, well, let me check that out. Let me, let me do some research. Let's find out. Blah, blah, blah. I just did it. I listened to that little voice in me that said, do this
mm,
without question. And because someone earlier today asked me, what's the secret? I said, it's a mystery. But now talking to you, Evie, one of the secrets is I was listening
mm.
and I didn't question it.
Yeah,
I acted without subjecting it to the scientific method.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't analyze it. I just said,
Yes.
okay, I'm just
Just
gonna do it.
just sign up, just get it done. Doesn't matter.
Something about the quality of the message.
Yeah.
I can't really, but I think you know what I'm talking about. It's
Yes.
like
I think
you
there's a few
can't put your
times.
finger on it.
Yes.
Something way back in your past
Yeah.
said you should do this. Okay, because
Yeah.
the way you're doing it speaks to that you're on purpose, aren't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, yeah. There's a few times in my
And
life that's happened to me. Like the Speakers Institute, they were talking to me and I just signed up then and there that I'm gonna become a speaker and then
yes,
author just to the friends saying that you need to spread your message, need to write a book. And then after maybe a couple of weeks, I decided, okay, I'm gonna write a book. So it's happened to me as well that I felt the calling. I didn't analyze the process, and I thought
and you
I'll
didn't
just do
doubt it
it.
for a moment. You didn't say, "Wait a
No.
minute, I'm not going to write a book. I'm not a speaker. Nobody wants to listen." You just did it. That
Yeah,
to me, I think now that I think about it, I not quite ever thought of it quite that way, but I think for some people anyway,
yeah.
that's a key. You get an idea or a calling, whatever you want to call it,
Mm,
and you respond immediately without question.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
part of you that knows without question, and you just do it.
yeah. And
And that's what,
if you know the coach, you follow the process, like you trust the process, go through the whole teaching, and quite often they're fantastic coaches. And then you come out at the other end and you're grateful that you've gone through the process without knowing the whole what's
yes.
going on.
Well, that's another key that I learned too. When you get clear about the what
Hmm.
and the why, the how takes care of itself.
Yes,
You don't have to worry about that.
I
Because
love it.
a lot of people say, "Oh, I know what I want to do. I just don't know how to do it." And they get stuck there.
Yep,
I don't know how to do it.
yep,
I've never written a book. How would I know how to write a book?
same. That's right.
I just
Just
did.
trust the process. The coaches will teach you. You don't have to know how, and then you just have to trust the
Right.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it's such a pleasure talking to you. Uh, and because I learn in conversations too.
yeah.
I'm getting insights in conversation with you.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
showing me some things I wasn't quite aware of till now. And
Great.
well, I think most people are either in learning or they're in resistance.
Yes.
That's how I used to categorize my students when I
Yep.
was teaching. I had
Yep.
students in learning
Hmm.
and students in resistance.
Mm,
And the challenge was, how do you get a student out of resistance?
yeah.
Okay. They're more worried about their grade
Mm,
than learning, you know?
yeah.
Look, you probably have patients like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They
Have
get
patients
stuck
that come
and
to you. Yeah, they trust you, they listen to you, and they do what you suggest, and they get the results.
yep.
And then you have others that come to you with,
They think they've done it
well,
all,
it
they've
didn't
tried it
work.
all,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah,
not open to
yeah.
new ideas, and they're stuck, and I can't change it.
Yeah, well, there's another, see that's another bottom line thing that I tell people
Hmm.
because I'm an example of it,
Hmm.
being who I am.
Mm,
No pretenses. I wasn't always me. I was being what other people, my parents and teachers, I was living a life that was not really me. Took
hmm.
me a long time to figure that out.
Mm,
But now I am me. And I've learned that for me to do what I'm supposed to do on here, it's essential.
yep.
So what I say to my audiences is keep showing up
Hmm.
and be whoever you are. And it could be different every day, but
Hmm.
just be you, whatever that is. And don't worry about what other people think.
Yep, that's
Because
it.
a lot of people's lives are wasted. They're stuck and they don't realize it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love your
I have a
message.
client now
Hmm.
who she's understanding it intellectually, but she hasn't got it deep in here yet.
Hmm.
She wants to know what people think. How do I get their approval? And
Mm.
I keep ask as a coach, I say, why do you need their approval? And she really doesn't have an answer for that. It's just, oh, I mean, it started somewhere,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
with her mom or something.
yeah.
But to me, it's all a challenge. I like the challenge of if they're in learning, if they want to know, if they're on autopilot, I mean, I'm sure you occasionally have patients that just
That's right. The autopilot.
they just don't want to cooperate
That's
or
right.
they've got all these excuses
Yeah,
and it's all your fault and oh
yeah,
it's yeah,
yeah,
it's life, isn't
absolutely.
it?
That's right. I love your message, Dr. Dan. Tell us where our audience can find your book and your and follow you.
Well, can you put this up? My website is www my name
Yes.
DanielRubin.net,
Sure.
DanielRubin.net.
Yes, I'll
That
share
will
it all
take
in
you
the
to
show notes. Yep.
yeah, that will be yeah, it's on my flyer that I gave you. That will take you to my website, which has links to purchase the book.
Yep.
It has links to get free coaching for 60 minutes from me
Okay. Even
or to
Australia,
engage.
Australian
Oh yeah,
audience is
what's up?
okay?
There's yes, what's up?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
I would love to get some of your clients who who could use this more socio-psychological side of being on, if you're working on their health, but
Yep.
if that's all they're doing, if they're, yeah, I would love to be, yes, WhatsApp is the way. Look, I talked to my granddaughter there.
Hmm.
Um, so it's very easy for me to coach anybody anywhere nowadays. So um, I would really appreciate when you publish this that if you put my book
Yep.
and my website
Yep.
and let people know.
No problem. Amazing.
This has been an absolute delight for me.
Me,
I've just loved every minute of it. Frankly, I hope your audience has benefited from our conversation. You've
yes.
asked some wonderful questions, and I hope that my responses have been enlightening and entertaining and empowering.
Yes, absolutely. I
And
have learned so much as well. This is why I like to do podcasts. It actually doesn't matter who else is listening to it, but I have learned a lot from you. So today it's just me and you, but if it other people can learn from this as well, that is just a bonus. But I have,
well, it's my pleasure, and if you ever want to have me come back again to talk about gratitude, for example,
yeah,
um,
okay, that'll be
it's
awesome.
that's a whole for me.
Mm,
Uh, um, that's a whole talk. It's an integral part of who I am
hmm.
that got, as I said, got me to where I am.
Mm,
Uh, but if more people um, appreciated the
Yeah.
power of gratitude.
Mm.
Next to love, gratitude is probably the most powerful gift we've been given for
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
lives. It
Mm.
can it can change people's lives. Gratitude alone. And I teach people about that because it's more than just waking up in the morning saying thank you God or thank you God for this for that. It's a stress reliever. It's just one of those things that I just say just do it and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. And I use it all the time.
Yeah,
For,
yeah.
yeah.
Let's plan another podcast that we should record about.
I would love that. I would love that.
That'll be great. All right. Well, Dr. Dan, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're quite welcome. It's been an absolute pleasure, Evie. And I look forward to more. And you stay well and keep doing what you're doing. Stay on purpose.
I
It's
will.
one thing. It's one thing to have a purpose.
Yes.
It's another thing to be on purpose, which means you're doing it, and you
Yes.
are, and
Great.
you're a
Thank you.
blessing. You're a blessing yourself. So thanks again. I look forward to more with you whenever you say.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, Dr. Dan. Thank you for your time. And
You're quite welcome.
to our listeners, thank you for staying tuned. Until next time, we'll bring to you another amazing guest, just like Dr. Dan.